Smita, we lost your audio. Smita, you are not audible.
Hello.
Yeah, now you are.
Sorry, how much you have heard? Okay, I was talking about the various aspects we have to be careful when when we are managing children or the families who are having children with different children who are differently abled for early intervention. In order to prepare them for an early intervention, we must know how much they are aware about the problem, about the child's problem, and the various aspects of the child's problem, and how much they are ready to accept the problem, and also what is their attitude regarding the problem, and is there any issues in their attitude, and also regarding their ability, how much they are physically, psychologically, and cognitively, how intelligent they are in order to handle the problem they are going to face in the or the issues they are going to face in the rest of their life, and also how much they are aware, the family is aware about the availability of the resources and the services, and the accessibility of those services and resources are also important, and the accommodation of the family members and the siblings, of the accommodation of the child by the family members and the siblings. So we will be I'll be talking in detail about all these A's. I talked about, I mentioned different aspects that includes awareness, acceptance, attitude, ability, availability, accessibility, and accommodation. These are the 7 A's that is important in dealing with the families and managing the roadblocks of in front of the family while they are ready to they are preparing themselves to intervene the child as early as possible in order to help the child to cope with and to grow forward with the child's disorder. So first one is about awareness. Awareness of the family is important when the family is dealing with a child's problem. First, they must know what are the risks associated with during the pregnancy itself. Like every family, every parent to be must know why the pregnancy care is important, why the duration of the delivery, the time of the delivery is important, the ease at which the child is coming out is important, and the perinatal period or the time immediately after the delivery is important, because any risk factors, any problem associated with pregnancy, any problem associated with delivery, and any perinatal issues will lead on to the developmental issues. So as you know, that will lead on to their to various disabilities. So initially itself, every parent, whether their child is having any kind of disorder or not, any parent to be must be aware of the risk factors, and every parent must be aware about the normal development of a child in the early phase of the child. So at what age the child will, at how many months the child will be sitting, at what time, at what particular week the child will be smiling at others. All these kinds of important normal developmental milestones must be known to each and every parent. And also the importance of immunization. What are the immunization shots the child must take at the particular months of the first year, and what are the disorders against which we are giving immunization. So there is an immunization schedule in our country, and the parents must be aware of that, and the importance of the immunization, and the possible complications, how much it could be, what percentage of complications can occur if a child is taking immunization, all these things, there must be a minimum awareness about this. And the next thing is the warning signs and symptoms of delay in the development. So during the first session, Dr. Ashraf was talking about how the suckling movements are the delay or changes in the suckling movements are predictors of the say predictor of the child's developmental delay. So there are certain early warning signs and symptoms about which I think that you're already enlightened during the previous sessions, and those signs and symptoms the parents must be aware of. And also every parent must be aware of the various types of developmental disorders and the management options available for these developmental disorders. So with the awareness, what to do further, that concept will be more clear. So collecting knowledge or gathering knowledge from all available resources is important for any parent or any parent to be. So if a family is preparing for a child, they must know about the risk associated with pregnancy, delivery, and perinatal period, the normal development of the child, the need for immunization, the warning signs and symptoms of delay in development, and the various developmental disorders and the management options for them. So awareness is that important. And the next comes the acceptance. The family need to accept the condition once the child has arrived. The child has arrived and you are noting there is some delay in the development or some physical problem, some abnormality in the child's structure, then definitely instead of denying it, the family has to accept it. If you are denying it or if you are not ready to accept the fact that the child is having some problem, then the issue that comes will be the family won't be able to face the further consequences of child's issue. Like for example, if there is a delay in child's development and if the family is thinking that that will be okay and it will go on further and over the time it will get corrected, and after 10-15 years if the family is going to a clinician or a therapist and asking for the remediation for that, then definitely they will be in utter disappointment. So definitely the accepting the child's problem is very important in starting the early intervention. Only if the family is ready to accept the child needs certain special treatments or certain special interventions, then only they will be able to move forward. And the family must understand what the condition is and accept what the condition is. If the child is having cerebral palsy, they have to accept that. Then they have to understand that how much the child can progress, whether they can expect the abilities of the child like that of a neurotypical child, whether the other children or the elder child or a younger child who is having no other physical problems. If that child they are expecting the child with the developmental disorder having developing that kind of ability, then also they will be in utter desperation. So again, the child's abilities and limitations they must be aware of, and they have to accept the child will be gaining improvement to this extent. We cannot expect this child to have a first rank in the university, but we can train the child to improve, the child to help himself or herself in their day-to-day activities. So that kind of acceptance of child's abilities is important in preparing the family for the interventions for the child. And the family must also be ready to make modifications in their lifestyle. So previously they may be leading a carefree life, but once the child is arrived and the child is having certain differences from that of a neurotypical child, definitely they need to have certain changes in their lifestyle. So this could be dedicating more time in giving sensory motor stimulation to the child, or it could be dedicating more time in or investing more money in the management or treatment options for the child, or could be giving more responsibility to other family members, or delegating works to others. So various kinds of lifestyle modifications are important while we are dealing with a young child for whom we need early intervention. And also the parents must be aware of the limit of available resources. We are in a very in a developing countries. So if you are googling, if you are going through the net, you'll be coming to know about so many kind of therapies, so many kinds of treatment options, so many kinds of ultra high tech equipments to help the differently able children. But depending upon the availability of those resources in our country, we must understand what is feasible in our setting, what is feasible in with our economic resources. So that kind of acceptance is also important. Out of the emotional that search, sometimes the parents will be trying to spend a lot on the initial interventions. So and later on they may go bankrupt because of their because of their initial emotional search caused them, made them to spend a lot on the child, and finally they won't be able to move forward because they are not able to spend that much for the child in the future also. So availability of the resources, whether it is the services or the money, that must be must be known to the parents, and they have to accept that fact. So that is important. And the societal attitude, we know our society, they see children and adults with different those the adults, those who are differently able in a different setting. Like we can't think that the society will change in one day. So definitely there will be certain kinds of comments and certain kinds of sympathetic attitude from the society. Sometimes people may be very rude. So accept that fact, and that keep a mindset to manage those such situations without affecting the thing our own or the parents psychological aspects. So that part is also important, accepting the attitude of the society. And the next part is the treatment modalities that is available. Sometimes we may not be very much comfortable with giving children certain kinds of tablets or certain kinds of modes of treatment. But for the child at that point, a surgery may be essential. Some kind of tablets which support to improve the growth of the child may be important. You may not be very much interested in giving the child the modern medicine treatment, but what is best for the child, that you have to accept. Then only you will be able to take the child forward and give the best available options of treatment for the child. And you also have to accept the processes the child may have to go through. That means sometimes the child may have to go through this through some painful procedures. Sometimes it may be difficult for you to give the behavioral therapy when you really want to provide the child with the things that the child is demanding. But in order to keep the child to train the child, you may be sometimes you have to be very firm with the child, and maybe, that kind of certain processes the child may have to go through, that you have to accept that whatever you are doing right now, it is for the betterment of the child. It is not to harm the child or to make the child in distress. Instead, it is for the betterment of the child. So this kind of acceptance of the condition of the child and the child's limitations, the lifestyle modification required in the family, and the availability and limit of the resources, and the attitude of the society, and the treatment we have to expose the child to, and the difficulty the child may have to go through during the treatment, all these things the parents have to accept. That is another important gate to move forward to the early an early intervention process. And the third part is the attitude. So attitude of the parents is very important. We cannot expect the child to improve overnight. So the parents must learn that this is the condition which requires lots of interventions and lots of patience and lots of effort. So overnight or within 1 or 2 days, nothing is going to happen. If you are going to you are planning to manage your child with that kind of an attitude, definitely there will be you will be coming out with lots of disappointment. So preparing yourself to have a positive attitude about whatever you are doing for your child, and about the prognosis of the child's condition, that is important. And most importantly, we have to focus on micro gains. Instead of thinking that next day the child will be smiling like any other neurotypical child, or next day the child will be walking like any other neurotypical child, or the child will be having showing social skills immediately, you can think about micro gains. What are even the smallest change in the child's behavior, or the child's movements, or child sensory sensory activities have to be taken as an important milestone, and we have to celebrate those micro gains. That kind of attitude will help us to give our child a better care and better intervention in the early phase itself. And also the attitude about caregiving and caregiver burden. In our community, usually women are the caregivers. But if a family is having a child who is differently abled and who requires lots of care and support, definitely a woman who is taking care of the entire family and the child, it will be very difficult for that particular person, and that the caretaker or the caregiver will end up in lots of end up in burnout. So in order to prevent that, the attitudes about caregiving and caregiving has to be changed. That has to be modified, that our mindset has to be modified while we are dealing with a baby who is having developmental disorders. So caregiving has to be divided among the family members. There must be one principal caregiver, but that principal caregiver or the person with which the child's bonding occurs to the maximum must not undergo any kind of burnouts. So enough respite and rest must be ensured for that particular person, and all family members need to take care of the child like in a very clearly scheduled manner. And also every family member must be aware of and having some a positive attitude towards dealing with the caregiver burden. So that is about the attitude. And next is about the ability. And abilities are important when the parents are dealing with a child, because for a parent who is having some kind of intellectual issue, suppose parent is having one parent is, or mother is having some mild or the borderline intelligence. Her intelligence is not enough to handle a complex situation. Then definitely the child will be having. Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. You're
Okay,
audible.
fine. I
You can
thought that
carry on,
somebody was
Smita.
talking something, saying something.
Yeah, somebody was talking in between, but you can please
Okay.
carry on.
Okay, fine. So the ability, cognitive ability, or the parents' mental abilities are important. If one parent is having some kind of mental health issues, then definitely that will be affecting the child's how they are going to handle the child. So let it be the cognitive functioning or the intelligence of the child, of the parent or the family members, or the physical ability of the family member. Suppose somebody is having any other family member or any parent having some any parent is differently able, definitely that is going to affect the parenting process. So the abilities, different types of abilities are important, and the ability of the parent to cope with the situation. So we all face problems on a day-to-day basis. We all undergo various kinds of stress, and for the same stress, for example, if somebody is in a different note, somebody is going through an exam. Suppose a group of students are going through an exam. Different students will be having different levels of stress, and they will be coping with that stress in their own way. So whoever is coping with the stress in a better way will be having a better skill to manage their problems. So here a child with some developmental disorders, or a child who is differently able is definitely at least in the initial phase, is definitely a big challenge for the parents, and the end is a stress. So how they are going to cope with that stress, and how able they are to cope with that stress is important. Also, to make the ability to make positive affirmations are important. Suppose the child is suppose the parents are feeling very distressed, or parents are undergoing lots of dilemma regarding the child's prognosis. Giving them positive affirmations that everything is going towards towards a better to a better direction, or in a better going to towards more positivity. That kind of affirmations will help their help them to face the problems in a better way. So their ability to make positive affirmations are important in order to handle the issues they are going to face in managing the child in the early phase of the development. And also their ability to explore opportunities, their ability to identify their rights and the rights of their child, and the resources available for their child. That kind of the parents with that kind of having good ability, that kind of cognitive ability, will be doing well in managing their or well in early intervening their child. And also the ability to delegate responsibilities. I was talking about the caregiver burden earlier. So if a mother is not able to share her work with the other family members, definitely that person will be having extra stress, and her capability of handling the child or giving early intervention to the child or managing the child will be less. So the the cognitive, physical, and psychological abilities to handle many types of day-to-day stress, and to explore the opportunities and to delegate responsibilities is important. Along with that, observing the child, the parent's ability to observe the child, to identify the child's requirement, identify the child's changes, and identify the child's gains, and identify the child's deficits in in various aspects, or in physical, psychological, emotional, or language aspects. If we are identifying the deficits, and also identifying child's strengths and weaknesses are important in managing in early intervention phase. And also the parents' ability to communicate the needs of the child, or communicates the problems of the child to the therapist, is also important in intervening the problems for the timely intervention of the child's problems. So this much of things are important when you are considering the ability of the parent. So coping skills, making positive affirmation, exploring opportunities, delegating responsibilities, and to observe the ability to observe the child's identify its requirements, child's deficits, child's strengths, child's weaknesses. All these things are the ability for all these things are important, along with the parent's ability to communicate the needs. And then comes the fourth A, that is availability. So availability of things are important when you are managing any issue. So that is same in the case of early intervention also. So availability of a therapy center, availability of a good physiotherapist, availability of a good occupational therapist, availability of other resources, availability of various kind of equipments to help the child in day-to-day activities. So all these kinds of things are important. Their availability is important. So the parents must aware of the availability, aware of these things, and must have a positive attitude towards that. They must be able to identify these resources, and for them these resources must be available also. So what are the resources? Definitely human resources are important, because the child needs more caregivers, because just with one mother, with a mother alone, child's management will be very difficult. So more human resources are important. Who can help the family, who can contribute to the contribute in managing or giving stimulation to the child, giving interventions to the child, in taking care of the child. All these so human resources, availability of human resources is important. Availability of time is important. Suppose both parents were working before the birth of the child. After the birth of the child, there must be more time to invest for the child. So definitely they have to make the time available for the child. Along with that, the money is important, and marital harmony is important. So that must be something which is available. The parents, if they are fighting over the child's problem, parents, if they are blaming each other for the child's problem, family members, if they are blaming the mother or father for the child's problem, then definitely that harmony will be lacking, and that is going to affect the child in a very negative way. So availability of marital harmony and social and family support is very important in early intervention. Along with that, as I said earlier, respite for the caregivers and resources to prevent and manage burnout of the caregivers is also important. So that's about the availability. Availability must be that of human resources, time, money, marital harmony, social and family support, respite and resources. And next comes the accessibility. So there must be so many resources will be available, but the accessibility is equally important. Suppose somebody from like we are having a medical college in Calicut, we are having lots of facilities available in various in child development center. There is a facilities available, pediatrics department facilities are available in sport. But hello, hello, am I audible?
Yes, doctor, you're audible.
I got disconnected in between. I don't know. Anyway,
Disconnected in between, no problem,
so
ma'am.
accessibility is important. If somebody is in a if somebody is in a faraway village or somebody is in a faraway place, then definitely their
Hello,
taking
ma'am.
care of a differently
Can you
abled
check it once
child.
again?
Yes. Hello.
You're clear now, ma'am. The voice is clear right now.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. So I was talking about accommodation. The point is that I'm getting lots of calls. That's what happening. Okay. I was talking about accommodation, accommodation of the child, accommodation of oneself, and accommodation of the society and its attitude into one's own life. That is, after the birth of the child, you are a new person. Along with the birth of the child, a mother is also born, a father is also born, and grandparents are born, sisters are born, brothers are born. So accommodating the new roles into one's life is important. Accommodating a child with a differently able, who is differently able, that is important. And also the accommodating the society, which could be intrusive, but we may need society's help in certain aspects of our our journey. So accommodating all these aspects is important in early intervention of the child. And the seventh factor is anticipation. What we are going to anticipate? What should we anticipate if you are having a differently able child at home who is a new guest in our home? So we have to anticipate lots of personal care needs, and we have to anticipate extra time that we have to invest for the child, and we have to anticipate the adaptive behavior deficits that the child may show over the years. And also we have to anticipate the medical needs and and the economic needs and the negative family impact that can cause those needs can cause. So personal care needs of the child is important. All these needs and the requirements will cause lots of stress to the family, because that is not all these requirements are quite new to the family. And birth of a child itself is an important life event, and every life event will cause lots of stress to the family, or the persons who are involved in that particular, who are going through that particular life event. Just imagine the birth of a child who is having some kind of developmental disorder, that will add on to the stress. So the family has to anticipate stress, that in each and every step forward they have to anticipate stress in their life. Stress could be related, and how the stress is going to manifest they must know. They will be going through stress, and they should understand how they will be experiencing the stress in their life. This could be this could be in the form of physical complaints. Sometimes the mother or father will be having some aches and pains in their body. Sometimes they may be feeling restless, they may be feeling irritable, they may be feeling disappointed, and sometimes they may be emotionally or it will be emotionally overwhelming for them. Sometimes they will be showing some kind of outbursts of anger. So all these kinds of manifestations of stress that they have to anticipate, because the stress can prevent a proper functioning of individuals. So only if the caregivers are hale and healthy, or psychologically well prepared and well they have a mastery over their mental health, then only they will be able to manage the child's problem and intervening child's problem on appropriate time. So managing stress and understanding stress is important. And definitely the parenting, the skills of parenting is important. How to give stimulation to the child. For example, if a child is having developmental delay, we have to give sensory motor stimulation to the child. If a parent is a person who is usually detached from others, then it will be very difficult for the child to get all the sensory motor stimulation the child required. If a parent is extremely stressed out and in a state of not interacting with anybody, even with the child, then definitely the child will be lacking the early stimulation. So the parental management of parental stress is important. And suppose some various kinds of postpartum issues. Suppose the mother is having some kind of psychological issues following the birth of the child. It could be a postpartum depression, it could be a postpartum psychosis, or any other postpartum psychiatric disorder that could go on, and even it can last for many months. And so if the one parent is having a psychological problem following the delivery or the pregnancy, then the child will be lacking all the care and support from that particular parent. So identifying the psychological issues of the parent is important in the early intervention of the child. So those who are managing, or those who are seeing a child in the early phase itself, must always look for the psychological issues in parents, the stress of the parents, and the parenting efficacy of both the parents. So, and about the marital adjustment of the parents. So how healthy is their married life? How good is their mental health? How strong is their ability to parent a differently abled child? And how much stress they are undergoing? How good are their coping styles, or their ability to cope with the stress? All these has to be evaluated, or this we have to try to understand the level of these various factors while we are managing, or when we are handling a child, or we are seeing a child for early intervention. So that is about the stress, and what all things can reduce stress. So if there is good family support, the stress will be less. If there is family harmony, like there are no issues, no chaotic family environment, definitely stress will be reducing. Good marital adjustment, good interpersonal interactions with the couple, among the couple, that will reduce the stress. And the quality of life in the family, that is how much the quality time they are spending together, how much they are supporting each other, how much the parents can or the caregivers can invest their time in other matters also. Like there must be a life which is apart from the child. They are taking lots of effort to take care of the child, but along with that there must be some entertainment for the primary caregivers, so that quality of their life will definitely improve the kind of investment, the psychological, physical, and the cognitive investment they can do for their child. So all these things are important when we are dealing with a child for early intervention. So that is about the stress. And when we are handling a child with developmental disorder, there are certain difference between the problems of the child's mothers and fathers. So usually mothers exhibits more symptoms of depression. Mothers, we know in our cultural setting, the females are taking care of the child. They are investing in any part of the globe. Mothers are investing more time for taking care of a child. Let it be a neurotypical child, or let it be a differently able child. And definitely they will be more worried about the child. They will be showing increased symptoms of depression. There will be increased caregiver burden for the mother, and there will be increased stress, and they will be having a weaker sense of coherence, and they will be having poorer health. So when you're dealing with a child whose the child's family, always look for the mother's physical well-being, always look for the stress of the child, and also the symptoms of depression, whether the mother is expressing low mood, lack of interest in any kind of happy activities or pleasurable activities. If the mother is complaining of tiredness always, if the mother is complaining of sleep, lack of sleep, it is not because of the child crying or something like that. It is even if she is getting a opportunity to sleep, she won't be able to sleep. She will be full of thoughts and worries. So that kind of sleep disturbance, whether the mother is expressing any kind of the death wishes, so all these things we have to evaluate when we are seeing a child, a baby who's with developmental disorders, and when we are talking with their family. So mother's mental health, physical health, mother's attitude, mother's stress level, everything is important. And the interesting fact is that mothers are having more positive perceptions of caregiving than father. So definitely taking care of mother's mental health is important, because once they are better, once they are all charged up, then definitely they will be having more positive attitude towards the interventions, and they will be good to go, and they will be taking care of the child better than any other family member. So mother's mental health and physical health is important. What will happen to the father? What is contributing to the stress of the father? Fathers are usually they will feel better once they accept the child with disability, and there is harmony in the family. So if there is any difficulty in accepting the child with disability, definitely the father will be more disturbed, and usually the studies shows that the father will be detached from all these problems. So acceptance of the child's problem is important when you are or making the father accepting the child's problem is important when you're handling a father whose child is differently able, and making sure that there is harmony in the family. Whereas Mothers will be will be, along with these factors, mothers will be worried about the socio-economic status and socio-economic status also. That is the economic burden. They will be thinking more about economic burden also. So the studies are showing that the economic burden will be more, means when in a situation where mother alone is taking care of the child, or in a situation where both parents are working, and in a situation the mother's income is also significantly contributing to a family, the economic burden, or the economic burden due to the child's problem is going to affect the mothers more, because mothers work fewer hours and have lower earnings. Whenever otherwise itself, all over the world, the women are having lesser wages, and when they are having a differently abled child, they cannot work for longer hours and they will be having lesser earnings. So they will be economically dependent on somebody. So that is going to affect their psychological well-being. And also the mothers report spending more time caring for the child, and that will cause more work absenteeism. So caregiving demands will lead to increased work absenteeism. Let it be a person who is doing manual laborer, or somebody who is doing some bureaucratic job. This is same for all mothers. So they have to invest more time, and they have to sacrifice their wages and sacrifice their income for taking care of the child, and sometimes they have to dependent on somebody else for their economic needs, and that is going to affect their psychological well-being, which in turn is going to affect the management of the child, or early intervention of the child. And next group of that is about the parents, and there is another group who is involved in the child's intervention. So and they are grandparents. So we have two groups: grandparents who are the primary caregivers of the child, and the grandparents who at times intervene with the child's management. So if we are taking the second group, it is important to give enough education to the second group, that who occasionally comes and intervene in the management of the child and go back. They will be giving, be making some loose comments, and sometimes they will be coming up with certain wisdom from the past, but that may not be suitable for the current management of the child. So how to deal with grandparents, and how to bring those people also to the more scientific management of the child, or scientific interventions for the child is important. If the grandparents are occasional visitors, or grandparents are tertiary, or very remote kind of caregivers. So that is one group. So they need lots of education regarding the child's problem and the child's prognosis, and also about the child's the interventions we need to give to the child. That is about the second group of grandparents. About the first group of grandparents, who are also very somewhat common in our society. That means they are the sole custodians of these children. This occurs when there is high levels of parental child abuse and neglect. Suppose there is some kind of illness to the parent, mother or father is severely mentally ill, or the mother or father is having some kind of substance use, like father is very much alcoholic and he is very assaultive, and the child cannot be kept at home, then definitely the grandparents will take care of the child. So parental abuse and neglect is important. If the we have to explore when a grandparent is coming with the child. And if the parents are economically very weak, and if they don't have a home, they don't have a proper employment, they are having extremes of poverty. Suppose the mother is imprisoned due to any reasons, to some reason, then or mother is having some kind of communicable diseases like HIV or any other long lasting long running kind of illnesses, then definitely the grandparents have to take care of the child. So also in teenage pregnancy also, and it's the developmental disorders are very common in teenage pregnancy. So here also grandparents will be the primary caregivers. So what will happen if the grandparents are taking care of the child, or taking care of the child and planning to do the interventions, or planning to manage the child? They will be facing various kinds of challenges. For example, in navigating the maze of judicial, social service and educational systems will be difficult for elderly. Most of the time in our community, those who are in our society, those who are above 50 will be will be the grandparents. The grandparents will be above 50 and they will be taking care of the child, and for them it won't be as smooth as the young parents to go and manage various works which we need to do for the child. Let it be something related to a therapy center, any work related to a hospital, related to any kind of early intervention, related to any prosthesis, any works related to any kind of aids which will help the child in improving. So it will be difficult for the grandparents to or that will be more sternness for the grandparents. So that is the first challenge. Along with that add-on burden, they won't be having much emotional support. Most of their concerns will not be addressed, especially if the parents are lacking and the grandparents are the sole custodians. Their concerns about the child after their death, their own concerns about their own death, and their guardianship, all these things will not be addressed, and the grandparents will be emotionally distressed. So that will be reflecting on the management of the child. And there won't be any time or facility for respite or time off from the grandchild. So the grandparent usually one grandparent has to take care. Sometimes both grandparents may not be there. Once the spouse might have passed away, so the single person has to take care of the child without any respite from the child. So that will be something which may not be that easy for the grandparents at their age. And public assistance will be very maybe comparatively difficult for the elderly people. So when we are seeing a baby with his or her grandparent, always assess these 5 factors in order to plan a comprehensive management. So if the grandparents are taking care of the child, then we have to modify the treatment plan or the interventions accordingly, because we cannot teach the interventions, or we cannot train them in the same intensity as that of the young parents, as that with which we train the young parents. So these are the challenges when we are handling children whose grandparents are taking care of them. And then comes the siblings. So one of the main roadblocks in the management of or in the early intervention is the problems of the siblings. As you know, especially if the child is second born, or child is not the first born in the family who is having the child with with the developmental disorder is not the first born in the family, definitely on seeing the new child getting lots of attention, even neurotypical children will show sibling rivalry. So managing sibling rivalry is important. When especially if the special or the different child is the second born or a much younger child. So we have to anticipate sibling rivalry before the birth of the child itself. Let it be a neurotypical or differently able child, sibling rivalry has to be anticipated, and you have to prepare the child to handle the anticipate a child, a new baby, and explain the child regarding the responsibilities of the parents and responsibilities of the elder child, as a big sister or big brother towards the baby. In order to handle sibling rivalry, the best remedy is preparing the child beforehand, and addressing the child's issues. Like, child will be complaining, the elder child will be complaining that parents are not investing time for the child, and the parents are not showing that much of love towards the child, the elder child, or parents are not providing things for the elder child, and their family members are spending time around the new child. So all these issues need to be addressed, and the elder child need to get enough time for his or her developmental needs and emotional growth. So that is important when we are dealing with sibling rivalry. And giving important roles for the elder child is equally significant in managing sibling rivalry. If we are realizing that the child is having sibling rivalry, protecting the younger child from the physical and other kind of attacks of the child is also important. So these are the ways with which we have to prevent sibling rivalry. And the second problem when we are handling the siblings is we usually see when handling the siblings is parental favoritism. So whenever the parents are spending more time for the child and more money for the differently abled child, and try to make the differently abled child more happy, or try to make the child to try to stimulate the child more. So all this needs some certain kinds of toys, certain kinds of some more time, and some more cuddles, and more physical proximity, all these things. So definitely the other child will be finding it as kind of parental favoritism. So again, as I said earlier, the parents have to be prepared for this, and share the time accordingly, and quality time with all family members is important, where during that time every child has to be the center of attraction. So the special child or differently abled child must not be the center of attraction always. There must be specific times, and there must be specific family rituals where the affection towards the child has to be expressed, and they have to perceive that in that way. So planning the family routines and family rituals in order to make every child feel important is one method for managing the elder child's or the neurotypical child's complaint about parental favoritism. And we also have to address the emotional needs of the siblings. Most of the time the siblings will be complaining about mother not giving extra time to them, mother not giving importance to their achievements. When we are focusing on the micro gains of the specially or differently abled child, we won't be giving much importance to the, or we may not be giving that kind of importance to the micro gains of the neurotypical sibling. So they will be comparing that kind of, they'll be giving that kind of comparison. We will be, or the adults will be expecting the neurotypical children to gain or to perform better, and adults won't be giving much importance to their small achievement. So again, the micro gains of the neurotypical siblings are also need to be appreciated and acknowledged. So that is one way of handling the emotional needs of the siblings. And we should never force them to act as adult just because they are 3 years or 4 years elder to the differently abled child. They are not act as you cannot tell them that you are the elder person, you should do that, you should take care of the other person. It is not like that. Every child requires a childhood, so you cannot force the neurotypical child to act as an adult. So that child, the elder child or the other children, need to have their own kind of enjoyment and happiness as a child, irrespective of the presence of a differently abled child in the family. So they need to have their own space, time, and their own ways of having happiness. So that is important. And keep constantly reminding the neurotypical children regarding the future caregiver issues also is also giver role is also sometimes an issue. Some children, they won't be they will be showing some kind of difficulty in accepting the fact that I may have to take care of my sibling in later in my life. So we have to give them enough time, and we have to give them decision power regarding their their attachment or their plan to be with their sibling as when they grow up. So we can only give suggestions. Deciding on the caregiver, on being a caregiver, is up to the child. So we cannot force the child, or we cannot threaten the child, or we cannot give commands regarding the caregiver role to the neurotypical child when the child is a minor. So that is equally important. So these are the sibling issues we have to face when you are having a differently abled child who is a baby, who's a newcomer in the family. So such issues, definitely when the parents are not having enough time to invest for the differently abled child, these kinds of issues will be blocking the progress of the management of the differently abled child. So handling the siblings issues smoothly is very important when we are thinking in terms of early intervention for a differently abled child. Now, do I have time, Dr. Roshan? How much time? How much more time can I take?
Now it's 3:30. So
Yeah.
I think we can go for another 5 minutes or 10 minutes like that, because we
Okay,
were
fine,
late to
fine.
start now.
Yeah, fine. So I think that I talked about various 7 A's regarding the A's that are acting as the roadblocks in the management, in the early intervention. That is awareness, acceptance, attitude, ability, availability, accessibility, and accommodation. And then I talked about the anticipation, what to anticipate when you are having a newcomer in the family who is differently abled. So you have to invest so much in personal care needs, adaptive behavior deficits you have to anticipate, medical needs, economic needs, and the negative family impact. And we have to anticipate so much of stress and stress related physical distress. We have to anticipate handling care demands. We have to anticipate our the parents have to anticipate the parenting efficacies, how much there will be deficits in their parental efficacies, and there could be mental health issues, and there could be poor marital adjustments. Whenever these factors are there, that will be a vicious cycle which will add on to the stress. And what all things will reduce the stress? Family supports, family harmony, marital adjustment, and quality of time will reduce the stress. And there are differences in the parental parental attitude or parental response towards the child's problem. Mothers will exhibit more amount of depression. There will be increased caregiver burden, increased stress, and poor physical health. And fathers will be more detached if they are not accepted the child's problem and there is any family disharmony due to stress. And mothers will also be affected in the economic domain. Most of the mothers will have to sacrifice their job. They have to reduce the hours of work. They will be getting lower wages, and also they may have to opt for work of absenteeism because of the caregiving demands, and thus economic dependence will be there. Then we talked about grandparents, and what are the two groups of grandparents? One is first I said that is those who are the sole custodians of the differently abled children, and those who are occasional visitors. So how to educate the occasional visitors regarding the child's problems, and to make them the part of the child's intervention that I have mentioned, and how to manage the grandparents who are the sole custodians of the differently abled child, that also I explained. And then various challenges that faced by the grandparents I mentioned, and then I explained about the sibling rivalry, parental favoritism, emotional needs of the siblings, and making the siblings act as adults, and forcing them to be the future caregivers. How it is going to affect, it will affect them, that also I explained. Now I'll just briefly mention within 1 or 2 minutes about what all things, how we can help these parents. We have to give them opportunities to nurture the healthy family functioning. So every time we are seeing a family child, a differently abled child, spend some time with the family and ask about their family functioning, ask about their family harmony, and give them some suggestions how to improve, how to take time out from the child, how to enjoy their own life, how to find meaning in their life, how to find positive meaning for their caregiving, and how to give them opportunity to deal with other family issues. Like, the child is not the issue they are having a proper family. They are having the joys and stresses of a typical family, and they have to go through all those joys and stresses. Then only they will be able to feel their life worthy. So assisting them in going through a normal family life is important as far as a therapist is concerned. Another important thing that you have to remind them about managing their stress, to improve their coping skills, and also to take treatment if they are having any kind of mental health issues. If they are depressed, ask them to go and take treatment. If they are having some kind of any other kind of mental health issues like postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, if they are having independent psychosis, or if they are having independent obsessive compulsive disorder, any kind of mental illness, any kind of anxiety disorders, you have to ask them, or each and every therapist have to ask them to get proper treatment for that. And always encourage them to be a part of parent communities and groups, so that they will get better, they'll be more encouraged, and they'll feel relief that there are families like them, and they'll get people who are much experienced to guide them, or whenever they are having some doubts about the child, the interventions or child's behavior or child's growth or development, they will be getting people to communicate and ask and get support from. So being a part of some support groups and this parent communities is also important that we can suggest them. Another important thing is that making them the agents of change. So a parent who is having a child who is differently able can motivate people to act for differently able children or differently able individuals. So we have to motivate them to be the agents of change. Also, we have to teach them all the life skills. We talk about life skills when we are training adolescents, but when we are dealing with a differently abled child, a new child in a family, and a new parent of a differently abled child needs to have so many life skills. They need to have social skills, they need to have certain cognitive skills, they need to have certain emotional skills. The social skills must include communication skill, interpersonal relationship skills. They must have empathy, they must know how to keep yourself in the others, oneself in others' shoes, and find out how that person will be thinking. So whenever they are handling the child, think empathetically. That kind of skill we have to make to train them to develop. And also about the self-awareness. Where am I standing as a parent? At what level I am as an individual, what kind of emotional state I am having. So that kind of self-awareness we need to train the parents. And also the cognitive skills, including decision making skill. A particular decision needs to be taken at a particular point of time. That is very important when you are doing early intervention, because the initial months that will never come back. So the decision making powers is not there. If the parents are ambivalent about making decision, the loss is going to be there for the child. So there must be proper decision making skills for the parents, and they'll be facing lots of problems. So they need to know how to solve the problems. Problems can be solved depending upon the solution focused. Could be focused on the solution, or could be focused on the emotion. So there are certain problems. Suppose the child is having some developmental disorder, you cannot throw away that problem. So that problem is there with us. So how we will cope with that particular stress? Well, emotionally, how we can overcome that stress, and in what ways we can reduce the burden of that problem. So that way, all kind of problem solving skills we need to teach the parents. And we have to make them think creatively. So suppose an autistic child who's harming himself or hitting his own chin with his shoulder is coming. Suppose that kind of, I'm just giving in the example from an elder child. So if the mother is able to give a that horseshoe pillow, keep a horseshoe pillow around the child's neck, definitely that is a creative thinking. So from the early phase itself, if we are inculcating creative thinking in parents, they will be able to think creatively to find out solutions for many problems they are going to face in the future. So that is also, like, we have to do early intervention for the parents also, along with the early intervention of the child. And we have to teach them think critically. When somebody is a socially supportive family member is giving negative comments about the child, instead of fighting with that particular person. Always think in terms of the support they are giving us, or the importance of that person right now in the family, and without creating problems with that person, or without having issues with that person, how we can overcome the stress of that person's negative comments. That way they have to think in order to maintain all the social support they are having. So that kind of critical thinking is important. And the third group of skill is emotional skills, that as I said earlier, coping with stress, coping with emotions. Most of the time the child's problem will be overwhelming for most of the parents. So how to manage their emotions, how to cope with their problems, how to cope with their stress, how to find out alternate pleasures in life, how to relax themselves. All these things we have to teach. So teaching them to find out hobbies, to find to have personal time, me time, and also to learn certain relaxation techniques like Jacobson's progressive muscle relaxation technique, or kind of yoga, or any kind of physical activities. And also making sure that the parents are leading a healthy life with a proper proper diet and exercise. That is also important in order to cope with the stress. So these are the life skills we have to inculcate in new parents of differently abled babies. So along with the early intervention of the children, we are doing early intervention for the parents in order to make them or equip them to face the stressors and issues they are going to face in the future. So that is about the roadblocks and management of the roadblocks in early intervention with regard to the family and siblings. I hope that you are comprehended the talk without the aid of the PowerPoint. If you're having any questions, queries, or any add-on points, all are welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smita, for this really wonderful session. Your tremendous experience, the in charge of the Child Psychiatry Center of the Psychiatry Department of Calicut Medical College, has indeed, it is well reflected in your presentation here. It was very useful for all the listeners. Each and every aspect of the early intervention, the parental aspect, the sibling aspect, which many a time is just left unnoticed. All gamut of issues you have touched upon in a very sensible manner, in a very lucid manner, and indeed it was a delight for all of us who attended. Thank you for such a wonderful session. Now, as Dr. Smita said, the floor is open for discussion. Any questions, comments, queries, anything is welcome.
Thank you, Roshan.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello. I am Vishalu Somashekar from Karnataka, Pavagada Taluk. I am working as a special teacher.
Okay.
Madam, your speech is very valuable, and then I hope you are giving ability and then positive attitude. If we have a positive attitude, we are going a very high altitude. Anyhow, madam, really, I am very happy to say your speech is very valuable for us. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that response, ma'am. Any other comments or any queries or doubts? If you have some other detailed doubts or something to be cleared, you can very well contact us, CRC or Dr. Smita in person. We are always ready to help you.
No other questions?
Okay, I think
Okay, Rekha Rao, thank you very much. She's Okay. I'm extremely sorry for all the, yeah, I can share the PowerPoint, definitely. I can mail it to Dr. Roshan Bijli or CRC. Uh, I'm extremely sorry for the, initial chaos that happened.
No, but the session covered it all. So there is no issue at all.
Actually, I tried to log in from our, okay.
And as you said, those who are in need of the PPT will definitely give them.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Pushpa. Thank you.
Okay, so we are receiving a lot of typed comments.
Thank you, Shiny Joseph. Okay, Indulega, I shall forward the PowerPoint. Okay, thank you, Lavanya. Yeah. Okay, thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bhuvana.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Your presentation is very wonderful, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Then shall we wind
Yeah,
up?
it took lots of time. I think it's 46 minutes exceeded.
Posting their thanks.
Thank you.
So it is indeed really a
We'll
very
wind up.
wonderful session. Thank you, Smita, for this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the
Thank
wonderful
you.
session, ma'am. Before we could even think of the next
Thank you.
question, I think you have answered everything
Thank
on your, the next lines we were able to
Thank
hear
you,
it. Before we could think the dynamics, you have answered all the things. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, once Dr. Smita share her PPT with
Okay.
us, those who are in need
Thank
of,
you
you
so
can
much.
very well contact us. We can do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, CRC and Dr. Roshan Bijli for the opportunity.
Yeah, definitely, we'll be in touch for our future endeavors as well, as usual. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.